Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the opportunity to easily bring your Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host, Mike Lepre, here with my co-host, Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
This is episode 96 of Screwball and the first episode of our prediction series and kind of the first episode of our regular season, even though regular season is still about a month or so away. But we are still going to stick with our prediction series. It's just times up really well with what we hope is still the opening day for baseball. So we're still going to run through all 6 divisions. We're going to do a 7th follow-up predictions episode where we kind of put it all together and give awards and where we think everything's going to go. So just kind of disclaimer, I think it's kind of not really news to everyone that there's still no CBA and there has been a kind of a freeze in free agency. So these predictions we're going to give are what we currently have. You know, we're going to offer some spots and lineups and depth charts where teams are going to probably make upgrades, but we can't judge it right now because we don't know what those upgrades are. But we're just going to do our best here to still kind of give general idea what we're looking at for each team. So this is the 3rd year of us doing this. So this is, we start the same way we also started our all-time teams list. We start with the AL East, and then we go by each division in the AL, then flip over to the NL and finish that way. So as for our first episode here, predictions, we are going to start in the AL East, and we are going to go in order of teams just alphabetically, no real order that way, and we're just going to talk about each team quick, what their depth chart's looking like so far, and where we think they can end up, and maybe what their potential is in the future, whatever. So we are going to start with the Baltimore Orioles. Let's just run through what their projected starting lineup is as of right now. So the projected starting lineup I have right now is outfielder Cedric Mullins, first baseman Ryan Mountcastle, outfielder Anthony Santander, DH/first baseman Trey Mancini, outfielder Austin Hayes, shortstop Ramon Urias, second base Rougned Odor, third base Kelvin Gutierrez, and catcher Jacob Nottingham. So, the Orioles, I don't see them being like blockbuster trade / free agent guys, so I don't suspect much of this to really change with free agency. So, I mean, they have a fairly good lineup for a team that's really not competing at this time. I think that they have talent, like especially at the top of the order, could really do some damage, but yeah, I don't know who you have, if you have anyone different than that, or if you have some, some other guys you want to go into. Maybe you have guys on the bench that can maybe play a role on this team. I don't know.
Yeah, I got a couple of guys to mention. Just a note, too, while we're doing this. I got a lot of my information right from the team's websites. With the CBA not being around, these depth charts, active rosters could be a touch off as well. There could even be guys on there that might even be a touch outdated. Yeah. At this moment in time. So that's something to note. I think for the most part, we're going to be about 98% accurate here, 99% accurate. But if there's a slip-up, obviously, we're trying to do the best we can with the information we're handed.
Yeah, same here.
So some other guys I got here, I got Jorge Mateo. The Orioles could be a decent little piece. Some pitchers-wise, you got John Means, obviously, Keegan Atkin, Bruce Zimmerman. Pitching-wise, relief pitching, Tyler Wells, Tanner Scott. Some bench guys, DJ Stewart, Kelvin Gutierrez. So overall, their team's not real deep, obviously. But they got some nice pieces. I heard Cedric Mullins could be on the move when the deadline comes back up. Even Mancini. Means they have some openings, maybe a catcher, third base, shortstop even, where they can maybe get some sort of stopgap, fill for a year or two and trade him, if he's playing well, trade him for some, flip him for some return, Simmons, kind of guys like that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where they're sitting towards the bottom of the division. The good news with this team is this is our 3rd year doing it, so you kind of see some of these prospects still, year in, year out, right?
Yeah.
That the Orioles prospect, their farm system is on the up and up, and they are pretty good. A couple guys to note, Adley Rutschman, of course, he is the top prospect in baseball still at this time. Mm-hmm. We have Grayson Rodriguez, a pitcher. He is 8th in baseball right now. Yep. Give or take, these could be a touch different, too, because these rankings haven't really been updated since the end of last year because of the CBA, right? Mm-hmm. But for the most part, this is where they're at.
Right.
And then a pitcher, DL Hall, who's ranked 72 in the top 100. And overall, the Orioles have 5 players in the top 100 prospects. So they're on, up and up. And most of these guys here, these three guys here, for the most part, you could see them this year. Worst case, probably next year. So you're talking about like instant, like they're going to be here.
Right.
It's finally like, turning the page for the Orioles here with some other pieces, like you mentioned, Mullins, Santander, Mountcastle, guys like that. They have some pieces, some money to spend. They're going to be somewhat exciting here pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, they have some pieces, like they have a John Means, they have a Cedric Mullins, Mountcastle, Trey Mancini. They have these guys that, sometimes it makes me question why I don't think sometimes the talent reflects the record. Sometimes, I mean, they had some slides in 2021, so I think that they are a little bit more talented than sometimes the record gives them credit for, or sometimes the way they play. But then again, it's a team that has nothing to play for right now, so that plays into it too.
Divisions.
Yeah, so they get beat down sometimes by specific teams in their division.
They play in a different division. It's 4 or 5 different wins probably.
Yeah,
they're playing a little bit weaker division.
That's very true. But I mean, we kind of been saying it's the third year of us saying it, but they're going to be on the come up soon. Definitely sooner now than when we first predicted in our first episode.
The light at the end of the tunnel. The red light's starting to turn green. Whatever you want to, saying you want to use here, but there's hope. Sooner hope.
Right.
Kind of like what we mentioned with the Mariners and Detroit in years past, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even previous episodes where like the page is kind of turning.
Mm-hmm.
So, but decent roster. They got some pieces that can move, some flexibility, some prospects. So they definitely have some stuff to work with. So this team is definitely, one of your bottom dwellers, but like it's not bleak.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely say that out of the 5 teams you have to talk about here, they are probably going to be the team in last. But, there's a lot to look forward to a lot sooner than when we first talked about them.
And they have a great ballpark.
Yeah.
That they're trying to do some renovations to, actually, field distance-wise, maybe attract a pitcher or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
But overall, the ballpark's great, too, and that doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, so we'll see obviously what happens to the Orioles in the next, say, 2 to 3 years, but it's getting there. The rebuild is happening.
And you never know with this new CBA. They could just jump in and be like, here's money. Let's get Correa, right?
Yeah, you never know.
And that's completely, changes their rebuild. Now they could be possibly open in the window.
Yeah,
With
now all of a sudden
coming up, you got a guy like that. So, a lot of teams, obviously, any of these teams can do something like that. But they have the ability to do it if they want to. They can just snap their fingers and be like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, and it could be attractive to a free agent who's like, well, I'm gonna be the one to help build this team,
especially
like,
an offensive player.
Yeah.
With that stadium,
Oh,
and the other stadiums in the division.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, almost all of them are offensive stadiums for the most part. So you like your chances there. So the next team we'll move to is the Boston Red Sox. So the projected lineup, at least I found there, is leadoff hitter, utility player Kike Hernandez, third baseman Rafael Devers, shortstop Xander Bogaerts, DH/outfielder JD Martinez, outfielder Alex Verdugo, first baseman Bobby Dahlbeck, outfielder Jarren Duran, catcher Christian Vasquez, and they just before the deadline, I believe, they got outfielder Jackie Bradley Jr. back. So that's kind of what their lineup is looking. Still a strong lineup, as I've kind of been saying for a few years now with the Red Sox. They always tend to bring a pretty strong lineup. The bottom half's has some question marks. And I may not even be accurately reflecting what the true, if you're a real Red Sox fan, like they have a Jose Iglesias, they have a Christian Arroyo, these guys that could slot in at these different positions. But I think that the Red Sox have a great lineup, and we'll talk about it in a sec here, but they have some good pitchers. I think that this is where the problem comes to the AL East. Like last year, they won the wild card game and made somewhat of a push in the playoffs, and they really, in my opinion, didn't have that great of a roster. But like any team, for the most part, this is where it starts in the conversation for the AL East. Like any team other than the Orioles really could like win this division, get a wild card, do something in the playoffs. I mean, I think the Red Sox are probably the lesser of the few teams, but even last year proved that they can just come right up and surprise you. So I think the lineup's strong. I'll let you kind of handle the rotation because I know your boy's in there. And they do have an okay bullpen. I wouldn't say it's their strong suit. I'd say it's probably the weakest part of their team. But overall, I think the Red Sox have a good team. I think they have a competing team,
Sure.
which is what Boston wants. So
Sure. Yeah, the Red Sox are, they're all right. There's talent. They're competitive. Pitching is, if the guys are having good years, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
But if they go by possibly what's on their back of their baseball cards, they could be up and down and really be a big swing team. Win 10 out of 12, lose 10 out of 12. So it kind of matters when you catch them, right? Just like you mentioned, a couple of these guys, Christian Arroyo, guys like that, right? Some younger players. Rafael Devers, Bogarts, obviously some mainstays. JD Martinez. Pitching wise, Chris Sale, of course, came back from Tommy John, looked great last year. That's a big plus for them. You get a workhorse like that, top of the rotation with an arm that feels good again. Nathan Eovaldi seems to be a really good, real solid, at least 3 guy. He's one of the better 3 guys. He's your 3 guy. For them, he's probably our 2 guy, right? Nick Pivetta, just guy that goes along his business. He's good for a rotation piece. Can come out of the bullpen if needed. Matt Barnes, Garrett Whitlock out of the bullpen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plawecki on the bench, backup catcher, decent piece to go along with Vasquez there. But overall, offensively, like you mentioned, they're pretty good. Defensively, somewhat lackluster. Devers and Bogarts aren't the greatest defensively. J.D. Martinez, if he's in the outfield, is not great. Kike Hernandez is pretty much good wherever you put him. Some positions he's better than others defensively. Dahlback, kind of first. Christian Arroyo, you're not talking about great defensive guys there. So, they're more offense, and hopefully some pitching comes along.
Mm-hmm.
So they got some talent. Definitely some room to add to the bench, maybe first base. Those free agents out there, they could definitely add a pitcher or 2, right? So there's definitely things they're going to add, and they can really help bolster this team. But as that sits right now, they're okay. If they have good years, great. They could be, pushing the division. If they have more what they could put up, or what their averages, or what their back of their baseball card says they could put up, you're talking more of a 500 team or so. Mm-hmm. So the good news, though, they have some prospects as well. Shortstop Marcelo Mayer. He is I believe he is a top 10 prospect in baseball for the Red Sox. He's obviously their number 1 guy, but I believe he's a top 10 in all baseball or so. I don't have his listing here for some reason. The next guy I got here, Tristan Cassis, first base prospect.
Okay.
He is 18th in baseball. And Jarren Duran, who we've seen a little bit last year, he is the 25th prospect in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So they have decent prospect pool, and they have 4 in the top 100. And it looks like they have 3 in the top 25.
Yeah. And isn't Jeter Downs right in there, too? Isn't he another one?
Yeah, I think he's the other one in the top 100.
Yeah.
I got 3 here, but yeah, he's the other one in the top 100.
Yeah.
So they have some prospects on the up and up here, and Jarren Duran is here now.
Yeah.
So they got some guys, kind of here. So overall, they have some good pieces, some flexibility to add more pieces, and some prospects coming up. So they're in a decent spot this year. Next year, they might be a little beat up.
Yeah.
I think Sale's contract's starting to come up soon, right? JD Martinez.
And he's only getting older.
So, so they're going to, as the years tick on, they're going to obviously be a little worse, but they have some prospects, and they have some money, and they have some room. So, decent team. Again, this is kind of what we're handed right now. Obviously, that team could be changed big if they go swing for a first baseman, they go swing for a trade for some of the guys that are out there, or Freeman, or something like that. Obviously, the team makes a huge change, or a big pitcher. Changes a lot. They go get Rodon, something like that. But as it sits right now, you have a good idea of what they're looking at. They're looking at probably more of a mid-tier 500 wildcard push team.
Yeah, with the potential to put on a kind of what they did last year.
Yeah.
I suspect just some preliminary rumors that I suspect a pitcher signing. I think that they could really benefit from another starting pitcher. Yeah, and I think that
some of these teams too, they have signed guys. They're not official though. They weren't officially announced. I believe they were like Rich Hill. They got Rich Hill, but it wasn't officially announced, so they can't put them on our depth chart. So we can't really add them to our depth chart. So there's obviously people that are already technically signed who aren't official that we can't put on here too. So that can change some of these teams as well.
Well, it's like the last 2 guys I have on here are Rich Hill and Michael Wacha. So, but I don't even know if Michael Wacha was part of that deal where it's like a not official quote unquote deal. But those guys could play into their rotation. But say you get like you said, like a Rodon, and from what I remember hearing prior to the lockout, they really liked Schwarber, his time there. Yeah. So you maybe expect the signing with Schwarber as well, which would bolster the lineup quite a bit. Maybe not the defense, but you like what you see out of him in your lineup. So there's definitely going to be some changes there. I don't think this is what they're going to run out for sure. But it's pretty much, I'd say at least your top 6 guys are pretty much put together.
Yeah, 3/4 of this team is right there, we just mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the bullpen, save like one piece that they could throw in there, I think the bullpen's pretty much where it's going to be. So, but yeah, they, like you said, mid-tier team that has a potential to be, even especially if some of the other teams have down years, could potentially be a division contender. The next team let's go into are the Yankees. So this is a little bit of a weird... I had a little bit of a hard time because we are Yankee fans, so I kind of know that their infield's a little shifty right now, and they're going to make moves after the the CBA. So here's just literally what I could put together from what would make sense if they just ran the best team they could out there right now. So leadoff hitter, third baseman, DJ LeMahieu. Outfielder, Aaron Judge. DH, Giancarlo Stanton. Outfielder, Joey Gallo. First base, Luke Voit. Second base, Gleyber Torres. Outfield, Aaron Hicks. Catcher, Gary Sanchez. And shortstop, Gio Urshela. So that's kind of what the lineup would look like if they literally just said, hey, we're not doing anything, we're not signing anyone, here's what we're running out. That, to me, made the most sense. But there were a lot of rumors prior to the lockout that they're going to make some moves. So they're like a team like the Red Sox where while like 75% of this team is put together, there's going to be some changes. And, you know, I think that the Yankees, pound for pound, still do have the most talent in this division. I said that probably 3 years in a row. But just because you have the most talent doesn't equate to World Series or division titles or pennants or anything for them, really. So while I still maintain they have the most talent. Can they put that talent to good use and make a cohesive club is what forever will be the question with this team. So like I said, you know, even with additions, I think they could make some serious additions that could really put them over the top. But there's such, as a team, a question mark with how they play as a team. It's not so much the talent. The talent's there. It's playing as a team. And that's what we're going to get to with the next team does so well without quite the talent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Consistency is key as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And you mentioned some guys here, you know, some other position players. They got Esteban Florial, you know, Miguel Andujar hanging around. Pitchers-wise, obviously Garrett Cole, Jameson Taillon, Gumby, Severino, Aroldis Chapman, Chad Green, Jonathan Loaizaga, right? Some good pieces there.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously have a big question mark at first base. They were in the Matt Olson, the Freddie Freeman, the Anthony Rizzo races, right? Shortstop, Simmons, Correa, kind of talks there about some sort of shortstop, maybe a Didi reunion. You know, there's some pieces to go around there as well. Maybe a smaller piece of Jose Iglesias, right? There's stuff that could be done there. Maybe they do a third base piece. Maybe they do a second base piece. Maybe they move somebody. Maybe they trade Torres. Maybe they, you know, there's so much that's gonna happen here. A pitcher they can get, a relief pitcher. Yankees are kind of open, almost at all their positions, right? Outfield they even can get rid of Gallo or Hicks, even if they can eat money, and so they're kind of open. Catcher even, right?
Yeah.
We have the black hole behind the plate there, so they are open. They have talent on paper, right? They got the Dodger look, the Mets every year, right? They look good on paper until they actually show up on the field because half of them won't show up. The other half, you know, they're hurt. So then you end up with, you know, crap. So, you know, we'll kind of see where they're at. We'll see with the CBA and after, but definitely they're going to be in the first base hunt and some shortstops, and so they're going to be all over. This team definitely could change, but right now they're talking. You know, they have some of the most talent in the division in the AL, and they should be towards the top of this division in the wild card for the most. You know, at least, you know, they have some pitching, they have some depth, they have some power, they have a lot of power, they have a lot of swing and miss, a lot of walks. Defense is not great. Base running, obviously not great, but not a bad team as it sits right now. But this is a team that's going to change for sure, and if it doesn't, there's going to be a lot of angry people around the New York Stadium because fans were going nuts last year. So this year they kept the same team. They're going to go punch people. So I'll punch Mike, really.
Sure.
So
I guess I deserve it.
Yeah, he should. He does. Yeah, prospect wise, you know, Anthony Volpe, you know, however you want it, whatever. Shortstop, 15th ranked prospect. Jason Dominguez, 17th ranked prospect, the outfielder. The kid's like 12. Built like a house. They, you know,
Yeah.
I've heard this story before, right? Sanchez was the defense like Pudge and offense like A-Rod, and he doesn't do anything. So heard that story before. For millions of years, he was coming up, and he came up and he was crap. So thanks for that. So heard the stories before, but he's supposed to be some sort of, you know,
The Martian.
yeah. He's supposed to be some sort of great. And then they have Oswald Peraza, shortstop. He's a 58th ranked prospect, and overall they have 4 in the top 100. These are some trade pieces. Dominguez isn't. I believe that's pretty much shut down, locked out. He ain't going anywhere. But Volpe, Peraza, trade pieces. Voit, Torres, Gio, Gallo, Hicks. They're all trade pieces. You even have a very underdogged pick to be traded in Judge. when the CBA comes up with his deal coming up, wants a lot of money, somewhat injury prone, big guy, can he play outfield all the time? Is there a chance they trade him? I wouldn't be surprised. So you even have a kind of dark horse pick there. So there's definitely moves to be made here. Prospects coming up, pieces. They have depth. They have lots of shortstops, which means they have lots of utility guys in the minors. So there's just a lot of moving pieces that are going to happen here all at once when we have a CBA signed, which should be soon.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of shifting to this team, but like I said, even if you ran out this team, you could make this team work for sure.
On paper, this is one of the better teams you're going to see in the AL.
So, and the fact that they want to upgrade is pretty impressive. So, I think that this is one of your better teams. You're looking at one of a potential division / they're a pennant / World Series threat every year. If they can bring that cohesion together, stay healthy, and play as a team, then they're going to be dangerous. And that's always where the question lies. No one's going to question their talent. So, good team. They're pretty put together. You have a good bullpen, good rotation, good lineup. It's just what does the season bring? It seems like there's trials and tribulations every year, and I think last year they squeaked by into a wild card and lost in a wild card. So, you never know. David and Goliath type thing. You can always take out Goliath. And this team that we're going to talk about next is a perfect example of that in the Tampa Bay Rays, who, in my opinion, has pretty mediocre mid-level to a little bit higher level talent on their team, but they turn that talent into a top-tier talent every year. And it's amazing that they do it every year, and I'm pretty much all but done second-guessing them because they seem to do it every year. But as for the Tampa Bay Rays projected lineup as it's sitting right now, amid, a bunch of, there's some trade rumors going around with especially their outfield, and there's always something with them. There's always like a master plan, it seems like.
There's always some Ray guy they don't have that just fits the Rays.
Yeah.
Stadium things they're working on. It's always something with the Rays, but it always ends up.
Yeah.
Well, anymore ends up being pretty good.
Yeah.
But there's always something. You're never not talking about the Rays.
Yeah. So to get into it, you have leadoff hitter, second baseman Brandon Lau, shortstop newly signed Wander Franco, DH / outfield Austin Meadows, outfielder Randy Arozarena, first baseman G-Man Choi, third base Yandy Diaz, outfielder Manuel Margot, catcher Mike Zunino, and outfielder Kevin Kiermaier. So, right off the bat, they have a good lineup, and they are a lineup that does their job and plays a role. You have your speedy guys in Wander Franco and Manuel Margot. You have power guys like Mike Zunino, Austin Meadows, Brandon Lau even showed a lot of power. They have good defense, good speed. They have good instincts on the bases. They play their game. They play it right. And I think this is a dangerous team, even though when you kind of look at it and you break down each position, there's not many positions that they excel at better than other teams. But as a cohesive unit, especially in the rotation, which, you look at this rotation without Tyler Glasnow, and there's some question marks there too. But somehow it always comes together for them. They're all of a sudden you look and they're a 95-win team, and they're pushing for a wild card and the division hard. So this is a good team. You have probably 3 guys potential that could put up 30 to 40 home runs. Mike Zunino's certainly going to put up home runs. Brandon Lau, if he has a year like he did, he could. And Austin Meadows, if he has a year like he could do it too. And Arozarena, you can't forget about him. He's still kind of a youngin. And Wander Franco. I don't know what Wander Franco's power potential is. We have yet to see him in a full season.
He's also 12 years old.
Well, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say where he'll go in his. If he's getting more contact speed, powers, he could be everything. Yeah. But I'll let you get into the pitching here because there's a few guys, especially I think they made one big signing, and their bullpen is by committee. Their bullpen's when I looked up their roster, it usually has closer, setup. It was just setup. Like it was just like there was no set closer. It was just they're all set up, man, and they just figured it out.
Yeah.
But the Rays are a good team.
Yeah. For what I have here, G-Man Choi, right, still around, and Yandy Diaz, a guy who looks to be more of a power hitter, but really isn't. He's just a kind of contact hitter, just kind of swings, makes contacts. Poor man's yearly Gurriel for the Rays, right? So they definitely have a good lineup. Some speed, some power on base. They strike out though. They play good defense. They just, what are you good at? What are you best at? Oh, I'm fast. They use it. Mm-hmm. I'm a power hitter. You're a power hitter. They just, they have their sectioned. I'm this. Then do this. Don't be everything at once.
Right.
Because you only got one of them on a team. Like it's kind of like everything at once, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably their Franco here or Randy Rosarania. Pitching wise, you got Shane McClanahan, right? I think they have McKay too. He was out all last year.
Brandon McKay, the dual.
The switch guy does both.
Yeah.
I believe he's coming back this year. That should help them at some point, right?
Yeah.
Corey Kluber, they signed. Seems like it could fit right up the Rays' alley. He pitched in the AL East last year, so he definitely knows what's going on. Ryan Yarborough, which is just the Rays, he just does godly work for them.
Mm-hmm.
Puts in innings, does a little bit of everything. Opener, closer, setup man, starter. I don't know. He just does things. He pitches good. He's a good piece for them. They got a good little bit there out of that. Glass now, it's a good chance he's out the whole year. There's a possibility he comes back late, maybe as a bullpen guy. Maybe, but that would be big. But he could be a big trade piece, is the word on the street, I guess you could say. Bullpen-wise, Pete Fairbanks, Andrew Kitteridge, right? Decent pieces. Brett Phillips, Taylor Walls off the bench, decent guys there. So overall, they have kind of their Rays team. It's good. If you put them on paper, you're probably talking more of a 500 team. If you just know and watch the game, you're probably talking 90 wins or so, 90 to 100 wins. And they have another team that will make a move. They'll splash in whenever they want. Mm-hmm. They'll sign somebody for a little bit of money, or they'll make a big trade, or whatever. So we'll see what they could do. They're definitely open for business 24/7 when the CBA is up.
Yeah, definitely.
Prospect-wise, they always have good prospects. Shane Baz, pitcher, ranked 19, baseball. Vidal Brujan, utility guy, ranked 21. We seen him last year a bit with Wander Franco. And Xavier Edwards, second baseman, ranked 70 in baseball. And they have 5 in the top 100. So they have the depth to make some big moves, trade-wise. They have some money. But their team's pretty set here, and they're just kind of ready to attack. A small move here or there, and they're kind of tuned up, ready to fight for a division.
Yeah. They're ready to go. I think that there's not a whole lot that's going to change with this team. I think that a big part of also their success has been keeping core units together, like a Kevin Kiermaier and guys like that. So I they're going to be up there. It just is what it is.
It's just these guys. They come up and they play well, and they know what they do well, and they let them do it. Mm-hmm. Brandon Lowe does his thing. Meadows does his thing. Kiermaier just plays defense and gets hurt. Rosarania's just kind of, a little bit more tamer. Yasiel Puig back in the day, right? Zanino plays great defense, just mash the ball, strike out a bunch. Hey, it's fine. Yeah. Do whatever you're going to do. Whatever you do best, do it. Right. We don't need you to do everything, and that's kind of what we fought with last year with the Yankees and some other teams. Like, just you do this, and we'll be good. Yeah, and that's what the Rays do. So, and they play great defense. I'm not sure they have Joey Wendell still around, right? I don't know if he's.
Yeah, I don't know.
Joey Lunch Pale. He just did the Rays perfect, but that's a great nickname. But just play great defense. I just remember watching him. Just he was going nuts at third base. Then he's over there playing second base. He's all over the place. Rosarania diving, flying through the air. They play great defense. They steal bases. They run the bases. They hit home runs. They strike out, but they walk. They pitch great. They're in every game. Yeah, and they can win it in every way. They can out hit you sometimes. They can outrun you. They can out defense you. They can out pitch you. They do it in every facet of the game. Sometimes you gotta do that. You're not always gonna out homer somebody or out pitch them. You gotta do a little bit of everything, and they can do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And, that's just what they do. So they're definitely a contending team with the ability to add, as every team is. But they could definitely add a piece or two, fine-tune it, and be, wild card and division push.
Yeah, I think they're a pretty good wild card bet, and I think that they're a division threat, for sure. I think they're a big division threat. So with that, the last team we're going to get into is the Toronto Blue Jays, a team that I think, and I said this last year, has some of the most talent in the lineup, and that if I had to guess, they're not done yet to fill a position, but we'll see with that. So the starting lineup for the Blue Jays, at least how I have it projected, is outfielder George Springer, shortstop Bo Bichette, first base Vlad Jr., DH/outfield Teoscar Hernandez, outfielder Lourdes Gurriel Jr., outfielder Randall Grichuk, second base Kevin Biggio, catcher Danny Jansen, and third base Santiago Espinal. I think that you have Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr. right back to back. I think is quickly becoming a pretty deadly combo in a lineup between speed and power. You really like what you got there. Springer is a leadoff hitter. We know what he can do as a leadoff hitter. If he can stay on the field, and he's an outstanding clubhouse guy. a lot of people really get behind a guy like that. So, you like that out of the top 3 spots. Then you have Teoscar Hernandez, who I think is one of the more underrated hitters in the game at this point. I think that he's fantastic. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., same way. He's vastly underrated. And then you have Yankee killer Randall Grichuk in the lineup. He always just seems to come up with big hits when you need him. And then you have guys to fill in roles, like Danny Jensen is a great backstop. He's not a great hitter, but he pretty much does his job behind the plate. Kevin Biggio, still, I think, a little bit of untapped potential there. I think you could see maybe big years out of him. And third base, they got to figure out, do they want to go with Santiago Espinal, or do they want to really upgrade and put some power, put some extra punch in the lineup, more than they already have? And they make although they made a big subtraction with Robbie Ray, they made, an addition and have a fairly good rotation, better than past years for them. And, I would say that their bullpen is definitely is a weakness, but they have some pieces. So I think that the Blue Jays have a lot of talent, and I think on paper, probably one of the better teams in this lineup, in this division, I mean. And I picked them last year to be a wild card contender, and I still think that that's where they're at now. I mean, they missed the wild card last year by about a game or two. They were
2 games right.
It was the last weekend they were right in it. So I think that they're right there again, and I think that watch out, if things start to gel and things go right for them and the ball bounces the right way, I think they're a division contender too. I think that they're just that good. I just like this team. I don't know. There's something about it.
The Blue Jays. I mean, you mentioned George Springer, great in the clubhouse. He was, great videotaping signs, or cheating with the Astros. So sure, he's great in the clubhouse. But that was funny. Overall, I mean, they got power, right? But they go cold. Was their problem? They didn't have the hitters, the consistent hitters. They kind of, scored 10 runs in the first, and then maybe get 2 hits the rest of the game. It was just they do that, right? They do run the bases a little bit. They play decent defense, right? What you have to look out for with them is Springer's injury concern, right? Vlad's, you won't expect him to put up another year like that, right? Can he? Yes. Could he put up better? Yeah. But can you write it in there and be like, all right, it's what he's... No. Right? That's just it. That's how it is. And Bichette scares me a little bit because he just fly around. And sometimes those players who just fly around, they just...
Kind of like a Tatis type.
Start getting banged up.
Yeah.
So it's something to concern. But they have a very, very good team. Biggio, heard, is a trade piece they have. They're willing to work with. They have a good team. They have third base open. They have possibly second base open. Pitching wise, starting pitching, they got Ryu, Barrios, Galsman, Alex Manoah. Heard they were interested on Tyler Mahle or Molly. Also possibly Sonny Gray. I heard they're also in on before the CBA came up. The bullpen, you got Jordan Romano, Julian Merriweather, who pitched great. He was hurt most of the year, but he pitched great when he was there. Nate Pearson, if they want to go the route of just having him in the bullpen, the guy throws 300 miles per hour, and he's nuts.
Yeah.
He could be a huge piece of this.
Absolutely.
He could be your closer, and he could be a 2-inning closer because of his starting pitching background. Alejandro Kirk, as a split-time catcher, he played good. For the Blue Jays, and then they mentioned Santiago Espinal. So they have good pieces. They have the ability to make some more moves at third base, possibly even catching more pitching moves. Like I said, they're concerned. Hopefully in Toronto for the year, right?
Yeah,
that also hurt them a bit. Just Springer's injury concerns, and then it's hard to pencil in Vlad's really MVP year. Right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can keep doing it, but you can't pencil it in every year. And then you lose a guy like Simeon, who was just MVP. Option number 3, right?
Right.
That's hard to lose. So, and then the Cy Young.
Sure. Yeah.
So you'll also hit there, right? So, but they have a really good team, exciting team. Excite the city of Toronto and their fan base. Hard division, but they're pretty good, and they have room to get even better. And they're young, which the guys they already have can get better. Prospect wise, they have Gabriel Moreno, catcher. He is ranked 32nd in all baseball. Aurelius Martinez, shortstop, ranked 44th. And Jordan Groshans, shortstop or utility guy, ranked 55th. So, and they have 3. So all 3 of those guys are in the top 100. It's all their top 100. So they have 3 guys in the top 55 in baseball, essentially.
Pretty good.
So they have some pieces they could trade if they want to make a big splash. And they have a little bit of money and they have a little bit of flexibility. So this is a good team. They definitely could be competing for the division. Definitely could be competing for the pennant and be in the World Series. or they can be fighting for a wild card if they struggle a bit. But they're definitely going to be in the playoff hunt all year, and they're going to be their ups are going to be up, and their downs could be down. There's that kind of hitting team where they could really be mashed the ball, or they could be cold.
Yeah.
But their pitching's getting better, so those cold streaks maybe they can still pull out some more wins, than go 2-10 in a stretch. Maybe they can go 4-8, and that keeps your season afloat.
Right.
Those 2-10 stretches really hurt you. Just make it a 4-8 could be big
right.
down the stretch. So I think that's what
absolutely.
the team's really starting to build. It's starting to get more consistency, take away them big slides, make them smaller slides, and you're talking a pennant team.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know last year was kind of the year of the streaks. I don't know why teams just went on 10 winning streaks and then 10 losing streaks, that kind of thing. I think at the end of the year that killed them. They went on a huge winning streak, and all of a sudden we're in the wild card, and then they lost like
4 out of 6 or something right there in the last week.
Yeah, and it was like, well, there they go, So I don't know if that was just, last year was kind of weird. I don't know why. I just thought last year had like a weird feel to it. Some teams were overperforming, some were severely underperforming. It was kind of a, you have the team that won the World Series. That was yeah. I mean,
halfway through August, they were like, "This team's not good." And
yeah,
they lost their best player, one of the best players in baseball, and then they won the World Series.
Yeah, so I think I chalk last year up to being a little odd. Do we see some of that stuff again? Sure.
60-game season the year before, 162 again. COVID's still around this year. I think we're going to be everything's kind of settle up as long as the CBA comes around.
Yeah.
You're going to see a little bit more normalcy, I guess you could say. So yeah, I could see maybe a little less streaks going.
I would like to think, because every team was streaking. There were times where the A's were streaking, the Red Sox.
The A's lost, 8 out of 9 to start the year, then they won like 20 in a row.
Yeah, so, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know why that was happening last year, but we'll see if that continues for them. If that's just, maybe that was a product of last year, if that was a product of how they play. I think it's a little bit of both. I think they do play like that.
Stadium switch.
Yeah.
Definitely a big thing in the middle of the year.
Different environment, all of a sudden, it just changed things. Different travel, it changes shit. I mean, obviously that affects all teams, but for them specifically, with the stadium switch was unique to them. I think they're really good. I think they're at least a wild card contender, and I think that they could push the division. This division's hard to peg, honestly, especially without seeing where the chips fall with the free agents. I think this division's really hard to pick out, like, who's the team. You saw last year the 4 teams had at least like 80 some wins, like we're at least above 500. I think they're all 90 wins.
Yeah, all 4 teams at one point, it was late in the season, they were all within like 2 games.
Yeah,
you could have been leading a division and one of the better teams in the AL, or you could have been, bottom dweller with the Orioles. That's quite a jump.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's still where the division sits, truthfully. I think that it's kind of hard to say. You like to say a team like the Yankees maybe has the most talent, but that doesn't equate to a division title. So, I'm having a hard time. I don't even know I don't even have an idea yet where I'm going to predict, because truthfully, a lot of these, I could see like at least 2 of these teams changing quite a bit with the release of the CBA and free agency.
You can see 2 of these teams in the ALCS against each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can see 3 of these teams, 4 of these, well, not 4, but you can see at least 3 of these teams sitting home, not even making the playoffs, or you can see 2 of these teams facing each other in the ALCS. It's kind of division. It's kind of just nuts, and with the pieces still out there to get, you can go from hanging around with the Orioles and the top draft pick, or you could be hanging around with the World Series, championship trophy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what it always comes down to. We'll see, and more so this year with the free agency is going to make a big difference. I think the talent is just going to. I don't think it's going to shift so much. It's like a seismic shift where it's like, well, this team's now clearly the best. But I think that
there's pieces out there that can do it, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. So I think it's probably one of, if not the most exciting division in baseball. I think there's a few out there that can become like that too. The West out there, the NL West is like that. The AL West could quickly become like that with some of those teams. The NL Central and the NL East can get a little dicey now.
You just never know anymore.
Yeah.
Both East Centrals, NL Central's gonna be nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, there's certainly divisions like that. It's good to see that teams are trying to compete, but this one's hard for me to peg down, and this is between the 2 of us probably our most watched division, I would say. I mean, being Yankee fans, we see these teams quite a bit, and just they're in our region.
Yeah, they're local teams to us.
Yeah, so I mean, we generally see these teams a lot, and for me personally, I don't know how you feel, but it's hard for me to really say, well, this team's definitely doing it. It's it could go either way for a lot of them. So
4 of these teams are within 5-hour drive of us.
Yeah. So I mean, we see them quite a bit. So, but yeah, that's kind of what the AL East for right now, before free agency kicks back in, is kind of looking like, and where we at least think the teams kind of slot in.
Yeah. It's an exciting division. with some good talent, some depth, some veteran players, some league leaders, MVP candidates, Cy Young candidates, some prospects. So this is a good division. This is one of the better fighting divisions as of now on paper. So, and that's kind of what you look for if you're a baseball fan.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You want a competition. You don't want like that AL Central last year where it was just like
it was May and the season was over. Right?
Yeah. So, nothing like that.
And that hurt the White Sox too, I think, doing that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's pretty much all I got here. With the 5 teams, obviously this all could change, and even some of our info could be a little outdated with just not having the websites and the team pages being able to use pictures of the teams and players and using them, and deals not being official. And so this gives you an idea. Gives you a good piece. So
gives you a baseline at least.
I hope it helps you, yeah. But the last little bit here I got is the trivia question. And the trivia question this week is, which franchise has hit for the most cycles in MLB history? So the answer is the Pittsburgh Pirates. They hit for 22. And the reason I brought this question up, I know I usually try keeping it with what we're talking about. We were talking about the AL East. The team with the most in the AL is the Red Sox. So there's the AL East twist into it. So the most cycles hit by a franchise in MLB history is the Pittsburgh Pirates with 22. The most in the AL is the Red Sox with 19. And there is one single franchise who has yet to hit a cycle, and that is the Marlins.
Which is weird. That just struck me as weird.
Especially with a huge ballpark anymore.
Yeah.
You got to think triples are going to happen.
Maybe Jazz Chisholm can do it or something, someone like that.
Yelich they had, and Stanton, and Marcell Ozuna.
Mm-hmm.
JT Realmuto seems like a perfect candidate for it, right?
Yeah, you think someone would do it.
Even D. Gordon hit a home run once. You got to think the rest of it's got to be almost easy for him,
Yeah.
And then Juan Pierre, I know he didn't have many home runs, but inside of Parker, he hit the triples. Sheffield, Piazza, Luis Castillo, Cliff Floyd. I mean, you go. There's a lot of players over the years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Derek Lee, I think, was there for a while. Dan Ugla.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you have a really good day. Anyone can do it on any day.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much a trivia right there. It does have some sort of relation to the AL East. But I think that was a good one because cycles are kind of like no hitters number wise. No hitters are about like 380, 400, something like that, right?
Yeah, something.
Cycles are like 350, so they're pretty similar. You kind of know, right? They don't happen a bunch, so when they happen, they're pretty cool, but they're not like perfect games or
they're not
so
like rare.
But they're definitely monuments to put on your resume.
Yeah, sure. You get a few a year. It's like if you get one or two.
3. I think Beltre and a couple other guys are tied with 3 in their whole careers.
That's
so,
yeah.
I mean, you get one, you're a third of the way there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it is monumental, and put on your resume, and it puts you kind of attached to history for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good one. The Pirates make sense. They've been around a while. They've had some good teams over the years. So I don't know how many of those came early, because I would think that a lot of cycles might have come early just because of the nature of how baseball used to be. Inside the park home run and a triple might be a little bit more prevalent back then than it was now. Not many of them were really going over the fence until Babe Ruth. So, you never know. I don't know. It'd be interesting to look up exactly what years these, they happen. So,
especially with some of these parks that were 530 feet to center field, and walls and trains rolling through the field, and
you get a little bit more help, So
so you never know what you're gonna get. So
no,
but yeah, that was a pretty interesting question there, I thought, and it was kind of surprising. Not completely surprising with the Pirates and the Red Sox, but like when I seen the Pirates, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, not the first team you thought of.
Yeah, you kind of think maybe Cardinals, Dodgers, Reds, the oldest team, Giants. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Cubs, even with the bigger Wrigley Field and the brick wall, and the wind pushes one day, and you're mashing the ball, right? So, but then you see Pirates, like they're an older team, just kind of a little surprising,
right?
Because they've had some bad stretches over the years, but it doesn't take much to hit us. It doesn't take being great to hit a cycle.
Yeah, you just have a good day. Really, that's all it takes.
Or it doesn't pick fast. I've seen Benji Molina hit a cycle at Fenway, so he hit a triple at Fenway.
Yeah.
And he was as slow as they come.
Yeah, definitely. So, we'll see. And we'll also see who gets cycles next year. Maybe that number, changes for the Red Sox, and maybe they get a little closer. I don't know. You never know.
And then you got DH. I think it is guaranteed that DH will be coming to the NL. So that can help the NL teams, the Pirates, instead of having the pitcher hanging or hitting it over there, right?
Yeah, you have an extra guy in the lineup that could put one out of the park and put one in the corner and get a triple or whatever, whatever.
And with that being said, a quick note is the CBA and the Players Association, the MLB, is meeting all week, starting today. Monday, met for 3-4 hours today. Got some good work done. They already have a lot of things done. They have a lot of the small things signed on. They have a contract already signed, too, that if the major economic issues come pretty close to each other, they will end the lockout and start the season on time without the deal actually being officially signed. So that's very good news. They're meeting all week, multiple times a week, long periods throughout the week, with a deal set on the 28th. It needs to be done to have the season start on time, and I believe the players need to be in spring training by March 3rd to have the season start on time. So we'll be okay. I think things are trending in the right direction. It's just, of course, negotiations have to come to the end, because that's when you hold the most weight, is when you push, the envelope the hardest.
Yeah, right.
But that was a quick CBA update where baseball is on the horizon of actually being signed and actually getting back on the field with the weather turning. Spring training was supposed to start last week. I mean, the itch to play baseball, football's over. Basketball's at All-Star break. Hockey's after its All-Star break. You got March Madness coming. You think, March Madness. Football's over. March Madness is coming. Racing's here, right, with Daytona 500. So there's some big piece in the middle that we're missing. I mean, for us, at least, a big piece. It's baseball.
Yeah, right.
So, it just seems like that's, it's warm weather. It's baseball season.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't even concerned myself so much with the teams yet, because there's no final picture to a lot of these teams. So, like, sometimes I was looking at the charts, I was like, is that right? I forget. It's like, it's just it's weird. It's a weird situation right now. But like you said, I think that they'll, time is of the essence. They know that. We know that. And I don't think that they'll dilly-dally too long. Of course they'll fight, and they'll try to get every little inch that they can.
Oh, yeah.
But that's just negotiating, though. So,
Millionaires versus billionaires.
That's what it comes down to. So,
yeah, and schmucks like me and you.
And we're just waiting for them to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, we miss out. But, that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So, but it's on the horizon.
Yeah. Well, like I said, time is of the essence.
And all the people you see, too, because all of them are like, baseball's never coming back forever. You always see that, right? No. It will be here. I'm not sweating it. I think Mike's sweating it too much. He sweats all the time. But
sure.
We expect baseball to be back here pretty soon. It's pretty. We have a lot of good pieces going, the right direction. So we'll be right there.
Yep.
And some of these people are signed, big money handed out. You don't sign a bunch of people and hand a bunch of big money out before CBA if you don't expect one to come back, because otherwise you're just dishing money out for nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And with a show video game coming out. So a lot of good things coming. The season's right here. We just got to get the piece of paper signed and find out a couple new rules and new things. Expanded playoffs is expected. I've seen a thing of what they're thinking it's going to look like, and that could be, it's not my favorite, but could be exciting. So DH expected for both leagues. So there's some cool things coming.
Yeah, draft lottery I think is different. Which I'm not a huge fan of, but I understand it.
The draft pick arbitration on free agency, that could change free agent pools big time too. You're not giving up third and fourth round picks. Could be lower, could be no picks. More taxes on teams to make them spend more. So there's a lot of good things that can come out. There's going to be a lot of similar things that we don't ever see the different side of, because we're not in the game. We're not the percentage. We're not getting paid by baseball.
Yeah,
Those are where most of the big things are going to come from. But we'll see some of the other things. And we expect deals to be done soon. And we just hope baseball will be back here. We feel pretty confident in that. I feel like we felt pretty confident the whole time. Yeah. Our date ranges were a little different than what actually happened, because I think we were a little bit more optimistic. But
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. No, I thought more mid-January is kind of be like, hey, let's go, right? Mm-hmm. But we're now at the end of February, so we're all right though. We felt baseball was coming back. We didn't expect
like they would go into April like, oh, we don't have one, nothing like that.
The biggest problem you're going to see is if it does delay the season, they're going to be like, oh, we already delayed the season even by a couple of days. We might as well go hard at our points now. So if you see it's some sort of delay in the actual regular season, then you have to be worried, because then they're like, oh, we already did it a little bit. We might as well just go nuts.
Yeah, then we can do what we want. Yeah.
So, but we don't expect any of that. I expect baseball back here soon, and a big announcement coming within the next couple of days.
Yeah. So maybe, who knows, maybe by next episode or by the time we're on the NL predictions, we can have even better predictions. So, again, when it comes down to, we'll see. We don't have control over. We're not MLB. We're not an owner. We're not a player. So it is what it is.
We're not man clown.
No.
That's a lot of players were calling Manfred.
Deservedly, I think.
Man clown, yeah. So, but we'll have an answer soon, and we'll continue to chug along like we always do.
Yep.
Because we've had just quite the hurdles in the first 3 years of this
We
process.
sure have. We sure have.
So next year, who knows what brings aliens or something.
Yeah,
So,
something.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode. I don't have much else. There's not much to update on other than the CBA. So I don't know if you have anything else. But
No, I just gave a couple-minute update on the CBA because we are closing in on dates and regular season and actual updates on it. So I figured we can throw that out there. But otherwise, that's our AL East, AL Central next week, and and every week we're back from here on out weekly.
Yep. So you can expect a new podcast every Wednesday, unless unless there's a delay in our recording or something like
Wednesday
that.
or Thursday at the very least is when it's up. So, but weekly from here on out, unless there's some sort of big bad news with CBA that could change our plans too. But as of now, it's weekly, and we expect that until November.
Yeah, until the end of the season, really, until after that's all done. So, yeah, we'll continue with that. But I think that's about it. So I guess we'll just wrap this one up and move on to the NL Central next week.
Yep, sounds good to me.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at @RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.